schools are these zero tolerance. Did you see the L.A. Times where the woman, her two children were fighting with each other in the aisle before takeoff? They knocked over her Bloody Mary, and she slapped one on the leg. And then they came over and said, for spilling that and that slap, terrorism, and she's now been convicted under the USA Patriot Act and is going to serve 10 years in prison. Did you see that?
Oh, that's sad.
Look, right there, charged as a terrorist. L.A. Times.
Okay, that's crazy. And that brings up a point. There's a principle that I have debates with. There's a lot of these teachers. When I mentioned it's not the kids' fault, it's the parents. They're teachers for some reason. Not all of the teachers. Both of my parents are teachers. My dad, a math teacher, has been teaching for 20 years. My mother's a computer teacher, has been teaching for 15 years. They're both in public schools teaching, so I know what y'all are up against. But unfortunately, a lot of the teachers have developed this attitude. These kids are crazy. What's wrong with these kids? It's not the teachers against the kids. The teachers are there to provide a learning and safe environment for those kids.
Well, I mean, I remember having teachers that I didn't respect because they were mean, and then there was always the cool teacher everybody loved and nobody misbehaved because they were a real teacher and they commanded that audience.
Right. So you know, this kicking kids out of school because they can't make a C. I mean, kicking them out of football because they can't make a C. I don't believe that. Most of those kids have a rotten home life. They go to school like Candy had a rotten home life. She went to school because that's where she could find love. So you take an athlete that maybe he can't tell you the difference between a gerund and a participle, and he can't factor in polynomials on each side, but he is a hell of a mechanic and can play football. So let's get him in a class and teach him those mechanic skills, and don't kick him out of football where there are coaches that can love and help this man and keep him off drugs. There's a reason we're losing 50% of our kids in high school.
And the social engineers, here's the sick thing, and I know you're very well informed, but we have a book this thick, the size of a Austin phone book, not as big as the Dallas. She was the head of policy, Department of Education. Dad's skull and bones, you know, elite blue blood. And they called her in and they said, we're here to destroy the family. We're here to dumb them down. We're here to make school horrible. We're here to get them in the criminal justice system because we're institutionalizing America to control them. We've got to, I'm serious.
It worked.
We have all that. Can you think how cold-blooded that is? That for 60 years they've been doing that to make kids want to drop out, to make them not be able to learn. Of course, the teachers don't know. They're compartmentalized, having to deal with what they've been given.
Well, not only that, that system attracts the type of teacher that can work in that. Just like the police system attracts the type of human being that can work under those circumstances. We have teachers in this land that are not in our public schools. I mean, good, qualified, heartfelt.
Well, they get run out. They get run out.
They get ran out of our education
system. My grandmother was like an award-winning top, teacher, and she had a master's degree in teaching. And she got out of teaching early because she just said the school system won't let me teach.
You're exactly right. We have those problems. So again, it's neat how Americans. This is not just Candy and I are not just about legalizing pot. It's a freedom issue. We're big on families. We're big on. We have the same problems every normal American family has, and we have the same joys, and the same fears, and the same emotions that the listeners feel right now in their own homes. And this is a new America coming through. Alex, we have activists such as yourself, Kevin Booth, Mark Emery in Canada, what we're doing. And I really believe the network is being connected, and we are going to see some changes in America shortly. It's going to go one way or the other, and I'm believing it's going to go our way.
Have you ever met Mark Stepnoski, the former Dallas Cowboys center?
I have not.
He's a 9/11 truther and an anti drug war advocate for decriminalization. He's a good guy. You should get him on the show. In closing, let's talk about just what it's been like for you to go from being a bad guy who didn't know it to that conversion and waking up, and a challenge to others that are on the dark side to know that they're on the dark side and come over to the light. And then a little bit more about the radio show. We've got to work that out and decide when to start it. But I'm
ready to start the radio show as soon as you give me the green light.
Well, Ted Anderson's leasing this extra satellite right now because it's going to be for my system 24 hours a day in association with the network in Minnesota. And then I'm interviewing board ops all this week so that we have more people in there, and we have to familiarize them. This is a different system. This is internet, AM, FM, satellite, and it's all integrated in there. So it's not, you can't just get a regular radio board op. We've got guys in there who, like one fellow runs the CBS News show in the morning. So it's a TV director / radio. So, and that's kind of for behind the scenes for the listeners. I'm not trying to get into all the technical stuff, just for folks that are interested in that. And soon we're going to have a tour via video camera of the office to show people.
Beautiful office, by the way. Very nice.
Well, thank you. And no, it's just people keep wanting to see our new office, and they're like, let's see what you're building. Let's see what you're doing. And I'm so busy, I haven't gotten around to it. But you guys want to shoot for not this Saturday, but are you going to be in town next Saturday?
Candy, we'd have to find out. Yeah, Saturday sounds great.
I mean, we've been talking about programming. Wouldn't a 9 to midnight show be really good for what he's doing on Saturday night? I think that's the best time for that. But, you could probably even do it earlier in the day. But that's the best time, I think, a Saturday or Sunday night. And then we've got a new show starting in about a month that's going to be on weeknights, Monday through Friday, out of the studio. But I believe within 2 weeks, they're going to have the satellite all hooked up, and then we have to integrate in those systems. We have to develop a video intro for your show and things like that. So there's a few little odds and ends. Or we can start pretty much immediately with a beta test. It's just I want to have your graphics and, a whole package of things. There's going to be some behind-the-scenes work we've got to do for that.
Excellent. I think you asked me a question earlier.
Yeah, go ahead.
How do I feel now? Moving over to the side of light. I feel better than I've ever felt. I'm more balanced than I ever felt. I'm more at peace with myself than I've ever felt, because I know for sure this time I'm doing the right thing. And we've caught some breaks, and we've worked hard, and we used wisdom to make sure we'd be on the map 2 years later. And some really good people are getting in position to be around us. The people that started with us are still here. They're full of wisdom, and so we don't just climb and leave people behind. We're a team that's going forward. I still carry some hurt. I don't know if you call it guilt or what, for hurting the people that I harmed. I'll carry that my whole life.
Well, the more good you do, the more.
Yeah, you can cancel out a lot of that stuff by putting good stuff out. So, doing what we set out to do, and that's to do good, and it's working.
Absolutely. I tell you, I feel so sorry for folks that are evil, because I was never really evil, but I was kind of into being a tough guy and kind of a hole, as they say, and I wasn't happy. And as soon as I became, a more loving person and more wisdom, and it takes time. That's why the system targets children, or targets young cops, or targets young teachers, to indoctrinate them. That's why they want soldiers that are 18, not 30.
That's right.
Because they want them when they don't know, when they're not wise.
A 30-year-old will tell them, hey, don't talk to me like that.
Or they'll say, I'm not going to take that vaccine. Army regs say I don't have to take experimental vaccines. But an 18, 20-year-old doesn't know, and they can warp their minds early. That's what concerns me most. They found in World War I that a soldier could only fight for maximum a year. And then the majority of the time, they were going to be messed up for life, post-traumatic stress, shell-shocked, either really aggressive and wild, or just kind of, screwed up and have all sorts of health problems and be mentally ill because of all the carnage they'd seen and the stress and the constant battles. And I know police go through that too. That's why they have such high post-traumatic stress, so much alcoholism, the highest rate of suicide of any profession out there, next to dentist for some reason. That's the statistic. But they have to understand that now they're serving on average 3 combat tours. They only did 1 in Vietnam, 1 in Korea. When my grandfather served a tour, he was a volunteer, but it was only 1 tour, flying B-17s and then getting a Purple Heart and then being on the ground, being a cook in Italy once they invaded. I look back to how my dad's dad was. He was a business guy and, in county government, a good guy and a rancher and a farmer and a nice fellow. But, he died real young, and he was, you could tell probably had a little bit of that. And that was only from 1 tour. Imagine 3, 4, 5, 6 tours. And these guys are shot out of their minds, and now they're coming in as cops, and they're the guys that are shooting people in the back. They're the guys that are, there's this one military veteran who's well known to also be a steroid head here in town, who became a supervisor out of there, proud of him. You know, I mean, I know somebody who he threw out of, he pulled the guy over. The guy's quadriplegic. He says, "What are these things on your car?" And he said, "Those are my hand controls." He said, "Get out." And he beat him up on the squad car camera. And they said, "Hey, good job. Here's a medal." Again, it's like they're devil dogs or something.
When I graduated the police academy, I was afraid of citizens. And I'll tell more on another show, but some of the training exercises.
Well, if you got the time, we can go